and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got 11 games here on a Monday. James, how was your weekend, my friend?
Weekend was all right. Spent all Sunday in a storm. Sometimes some of my Sunday was actually spent in a bathroom due to some tornado warnings that were firing off. But all in all, a pretty good weekend. Nice relaxing weekend, John.
All you could really ask for,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah.
Took
a nap. Took a nap.
Wow.
Took a nap. Yeah, took a nap.
We're a week away from the Christmas Day slate, so that's big things here in the NBA, of course. Yep. Coming off of a Friday where yours truly won the Listener League. Sometimes to be the man, you have to beat the man. Holding it down here for us over at Fantasy Alarm. Obviously, all challengers welcome this upcoming Friday on the in the Listener League. Still haven't hit the 25 entry mark, so still no free hat to be given away. But maybe this week, if we talk about it enough throughout the week, we'll let people know that on Fridays we do a Listener League. So if you're new to the show, come back on Friday, join the Listener League. We'll be able to give you guys an opportunity to win a cool hat here, and whatever first place prize tends to be given out there. It's a $5 DraftKings league for all of those of you who maybe are tuning in for the first time. James, 11 games here, kind of interesting slate. Obviously, a lot of injury news that we're waiting for. Some notable guys that are already ruled out. Of course, the Cleveland guys like Garland, Mobley going to miss expended time. Kyrie Irving is still out. Jordan Clarkson is out. Jalen Durant is still out. Derek Lively's out. Marcus Smart is still out. Kyle Lowry's out. Derrick Rose is still out. The questionable list is full of some big names, though. Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, De'Aaron Fox, Anthony Edwards, all questionable. I would imagine Davis and James play. They both sort of flip-flopped on their days off over the weekend here. Gordon Hayward, John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clinton Capella, Keontae George, DeAndre Hunter, Mark Williams is doubtful, PJ Washington, Alex Caruso, just some notable questionable players here. So as usual with the NBA, make sure you tune back in at 5 o'clock Eastern when James and I do go live, because we'll have all the updated injury news leading you guys into roster lock there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a definitely an interesting slate. Interesting to see Rose out, considering like Morant comes back and makes a season debut on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a legitimate injury there, but it is a little interesting to see him sit the front. I guess he's considered week to week, so he left Friday's game with the hamstring.
Yeah, left Friday's game with the injury there, so we'll have to see how it all plays out. Obviously, this is 11 games. There are a lot of nice matchups at the time of the recording. I don't think because we have a ton of totals because of all the injuries.
Oh, we do.
Oh, you have them. Okay, good. Actually, you're right. Now that I refresh my screen, they have all appeared, or the majority of them have popped in here. The Pacers, Clippers, 240.5, kind of low for a Clippers game. We're used to like almost 260 in that one there. Detroit, Atlanta's 243.5. We have Dallas, Denver, 238.5. Brooklyn, Utah, 232 as some of the notable high game totals. Charlotte, Toronto's got a 10.5 point spread. Dallas, Denver's a 7.5 point favorite in that one. Thunder are 10-point favorites over the Grizzlies there at home. And Philly is a 10.5 point favorite over Chicago.
And then slate low 214 to kick off the night in Houston, Cleveland. That should be tons of fun.
I would agree with you there. Minnesota, Miami is even sitting at 219. Not the most appealing of matchups there. I bet Washington, Sacramento, whenever that game total gets released, will be a bit of a banger. Obviously, waiting on the De'Aaron Fox news there. Sacramento probably like a 8 to 10 point favorite there, but we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Let's get into our positional breakdowns here. Point guard position has Luka Doncic, no Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Halliburton questionable, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 10-5, and Trae Young back up over 10K. Here's your top four. You have point Donnie Mitch now at $9,900 that can be thrown into that fray as well. But the 211 game total, or 215 game total rather, kind of knocks it down a bit for me here. But what's your overall take on the top group?
I mean, Luka's been amazing in every capacity, in every matchup, no matter the result. right now without Kyrie, it's just kind of been like find money to get to Luka Doncic and move on. I mean, 76, 68, 69, 63 fantasy points, playing 40 minutes, he's taking 28 plus shots, 40-point triple double the other day. So if you want to get to him, even though it's in Denver, 37 minutes and an 11-point win, 39 minutes and an 18-point loss the night before against Minnesota, and he's
Yeah.
still 68. So by all means, do so. You probably not going to get to Halliburton 11-1, especially when you have SGA $600 cheaper. Even on a night where he only goes 9 of 20, which I know is 9 of 20 to like normal people is good, but
Yeah.
SGA is, we've seen, I mean, 2 of the 3 games prior, 27
I was gonna say, yeah.
attempts for a guy who's shooting 54% from the floor. Still hit 47, hit a game winner in Denver. Probably the biggest win to date for OKC. I know they had that big road win earlier in the year against the Warriors, but in Denver, the only Denver second home loss. You could definitely play him against Memphis if that game stays competitive. But I love Trae Young here, 10K. Dude, they're just like this was always the guy he was going to be. For anyone,
Right.
the beginning of the year was like, oh, well, Trae's fault. No, that just got off to a bad start.
Even last year, at times, he went through stretches where he looked lost for periods. But I mean, 35 and 17, 38 and 11, 35 and 10, the last 3 games. They're all on the road, double in Toronto, then in Cleveland here. Give you 30, 32, and 45 actual. Really, the only dud was this Denver game, 26 minutes in that game.
He got thrown out, and he got ejected in that game.
He got ejected in that game as well. So I use the word dud lightly because he had 34 and 26 minutes there. And now he gets Detroit, right? Now it's a 10.5-point spread. They're home. But, I mean, he played 36 minutes in the game. They won by 20, right? So, the minutes are generally he plays. He's on the floor. So, I'm with you here. 10K Trae. Maybe his new nickname for now. I'll ride, or Ice Trae is what they do call him. We'll ride that for sure here. No Mitchell interest just because of the point spread, I would imagine.
I mean, it's fine. He's played 40 minutes in back-to-back games and has 50 bombs in each. So
yeah, I mean, it's not the Mitchell, right? High usage rate. Even if the game has a 215 total, he's the one that might carry all the scoring for Cleveland. So
yep, I mean 7 for 21, 54 fantasy points in a double-double, in a 20-point double-double.
Yep. Maxey down here at 92. Terry Rozier at $8,700. Jalen Brunson went for 80 a couple nights ago. He's at 86. You got Harden versus Indy. Obviously, the pace place there. Where are we looking in this mid-tier range?
Well, I'm not going to just gloss over De'Aaron Fox either. If he plays, I have a lot of interest at 9,600 against the Wizards, coming off a game where you and I were watching that game a little bit, and he had I think 6 points in the middle of the second quarter, and we were
live betting his under. And then all of a sudden he scored 30 in the second half.
But that's been like De'Aaron Fox's MO. He won the Clutch Player of the Year last year in the inaugural year of it. Also leads the NBA in fourth quarter scoring again this year, and gets Washington. I mean, obviously this game might not be that competitive considering Washington, is Phoenix and front leg, Sacramento second leg is not exactly too fun, but if De'Aaron Fox were to play, I definitely would have interest there. Maxey, dude, he's been really solid. They're just not playing fourth quarters. The last 4 games, I mean, Philly is actually this is the easiest schedule anyone's had all year for Philly. Washington, Detroit, Charlotte, Chicago. That's Philly's 5-game stretch. If he plays a full complement of minutes, then I'd love to use Tyrese Maxey, but I don't know if he's going to. I'm okay with getting to Rozier 87. Obviously, Jalen Brunson, we've said this a bunch this year. He has a ceiling, a really, really high ceiling.
It's hilarious, right? I mean, 17 of 23, 84 50 actual. I mean, you got to pick the right spot. Do the Lakers seem like the right spot to you for this breakout, though?
No, they don't. But I'm just saying, there's obviously, I mean, he was 3% owned the other night, so it wasn't a great spot against Phoenix apparently, and
sure.
that didn't matter. And there's been these games all year where he's done that twice against Phoenix this year. He did it against, I mean, let's see, earlier in the year, Milwaukee, he went for 60, he put a 60
Yeah.
bomb up. So he has those random just blow ups. Is this a spot? I don't know, but I'm not gonna cross him off my board if that's what's potentially in the bag.
Tyler Hero's return game. $8,300. Big obviously price was rising on this guy rapidly.
Yep.
He did play Minnesota already this year in Minnesota, played 40 minutes in that game, did not have a good shooting night, but it was the second night of a back-to-back. But he was putting up some ridiculous fantasy points. Do you have any interest in Hero returning? No Kyle Lowry?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if you do, if you have a different opinion, but I don't.
I mean, I don't really think it's a great spot for him, but he was so good.
He was, but he's missed 18 games with an ankle. So like, what's the conditioning behind? Like,
I always feel like Miami doesn't limit these guys though. Like it would not shock me if he went out and played 35.
It wouldn't shock me if he played 30 minutes or so, but I just, even then, I'm gonna probably. I've been fading the Minnesota spot outside of like Luka or outside of like stars and Bam being back and Jimmy Butler in Hero's first game. I'll pass.
Okay, I'll look Kobe White, $7,800.
He got off to
40 fantasy points.
Dude, he got off to a horrible start in that game too.
I know.
He still got to 40 fantasy points.
I was watching betting Twitter tilt because they thought the Kobe White PRA train was finally crashing to an end, and then all of a sudden he just got hot and got there for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, no problem getting there. He's going to continue to play big minutes. The Bulls have been, I mean, even when you look at the stretch of games, they've been weirdly competitive. And maybe it shouldn't be so weird if you factor in like that maybe Levine isn't the best fit for this team.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not saying taking a great player off the floor is like a bad thing, but for specific teams, I don't know. Beat Miami 1 of 2, competitive game against Denver, really competitive against Milwaukee. So if you want to play Kobe White, fading him has done nobody any good at this point.
Agreed. Jamal Murray, probable to play here in this game against Dallas. What are your thoughts on $7,200 for Murray here?
Yeah, it's good. Solid price. Really good pace matchup. Really good defensive matchup.
If you had to pick of Sexton or Murray at their price.
It's a good question.
Crazy shooting for Colin Sexton right now.
Yeah, I mean, crazy shooting, a thing that we've seen him do before. I mean, again, he averaged 24 points a game for an entire season for Cleveland. So, like, I'll say Murray is... Sexton's going to be higher owned. He has better eligibility. I'll go Colin Sexton here. I know Will Hardy does, like, seemingly limit his guys, but at least we know, like, Murray's seemingly limited. Like 32 minutes. Like Sexton was playing up or down 30 in the final 5 minutes of that game against Sacramento the other day. So I feel like in any scenario, as long as all these guards are out for Utah, the Colin Sexton's going to play 30 plus minutes.
If Halliburton is out, would you play TJ McConnell at 6,300?
Probably. I don't know what the... let's see what Popcorn Machine tells me.
Okay.
Popcorn Machine tells me that TJ McConnell did not play the final 10 minutes of that game.
Right.
So we saw
Ben 18. So
yeah, Ben Shepherd played the final 12. Jerice Walker, who did play the entire second quarter, just throwing that out there. Lotto pick this year. Jerice Walker played the final 12. Nawara played the final 10. Like, so McConnell definitely plays 30 minutes in that game, 30 plus. So yeah, I would probably get there if there's no
assuming that the Pacers can stay competitive if Halliburton doesn't play, right? Like
yes,
he's definitely been the reason that they are where they are for the majority of the time here. All right, what other point guards are on your radar here tonight? I found doing the early look at the playbook here. I'm going to be on the playbook for Monday. Not a lot of value, James. There is not a lot of value on this slate.
I mean, if everything stays what it is, Chris Dunn at 53 is okay. I don't love the price, but he started the other day and played 27 minutes. So 6 turnovers, not great. So done at 53. It's fine. We saw the quickly.
Ivy's 53. He started again.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to get him starting. You'll probably know pretty early if he's going to. Um, I so the Keon Ellis thing is interesting. He started that Utah game. He also got ejected in that game. He was ejected. He picked up 2 technical fouls in 2 separate scenarios. He was really good peripherally, really bad everywhere else. It's Washington. The game before he went nuts in, which seems like
he kept Kevin Porter on the bench in that game.
Yeah, kept Kevin Porter on the bench. He's usurped obviously Davion Mitchell by like a substantial margin. So if there's no De'Aaron Fox, I'm not like fully against getting to Keon Ellis. Josh Richardson probably dead with Tyler Hero back. He hasn't really been playing that much anyway. That's Marcus Sasser's playing, but they're getting blown out in every game. Yeah. So like you can't even really get there.
There really isn't a lot of value. Like I said, if everybody's out, like Nick Smith Jr. played 26 minutes against Philly here, and now they lost by 40 in that.
And Rozier got hurt in that game.
Yeah, but we saw what the injury report looks like for Charlotte, and for this one. So like if there's multiple players out, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's go on over to shooting guard. Desmond Bane's $8,900 against OKC. No Derrick Rose. Still no John Moran. No Marcus Smart. Played 40 minutes, 39 minutes, taking all these shots, making all these buckets. Does he do it against OKC here?
Can. Good. It's a very good game environment. So you just need Memphis to keep it close.
Let's see. Where do we want to go next? Paul George, 81. Cam Thomas had a 40 actual point game again. So you can pay the 81 for Paul George, which I do like. Love this pace-up spot for Indy. Return to pay Indy. If you want to go the whole revenge game narrative from a long time ago, you can. But obviously we know what kind of GPP play Cam Thomas can be at 73 as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Paul George thing is really interesting because we haven't seen this price this year.
He and Kawhi flipped. They flip pricing, basically.
Him and Kawhi, I mean, they flipped production, too. Like, Kawhi has been a freaking... the Terminator again. Kawhi looks as good as he's looked in maybe since he like left Toronto at this point. But it's interesting because George got off to a really slow start in that game, and him and Kawhi were obviously big reasons as to why the Knicks. I mean, they just torched the Knicks. But 45 fantasy points in 31 minutes. We got like peripheral Paul George, which is great. I love 8,100 for Paul George against Indiana. Sans the revenge narrative, which I don't care about. So. I love 8,100 Paul George because I know just like how the ownership's going to play out. A lot of people are going to get to Kawhi. I mean, I'm going to be exploring obviously lanes to get to Kawhi too. He's been incredible, but Paul George at 8,100 is definitely something to take a look at. And obviously the Cam Thomas thing is what it is. Like I do think that there is. And there's always going to be a higher ceiling for minutes when he's doing what he did, because it's like you're not taking him off the floor when he does stuff like that because he's just a bucket. But there was no Dorian Finney-Smith in that game as well.
Yeah.
And we already know there was no Lonnie Walker. There's no Dennis Smith. Like there was 3 people in their rotation that he could potentially lose minutes out to. And then he also had that cherry on top, which was the Cam Thomas from earlier in the year. I always worry. I mean, since we suffered the Cam Thomas floor game, I do worry just like looking at the Nets rotation. If he is not doing that, he's probably not closing games because he's a liability defensively. Yeah. And they have Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith that they could put in that can guard like 5 positions each. So if you think this is a spot against Utah for Cam Thomas, which could very well be a spot against Utah for Cam Thomas, by all means, you could also.
I was surprised by the total of the spread in this game. I guess it's because Utah is getting healthier in their home, but it's only like a 3-point spread. 3.5. So yeah, you get a competitive game against Utah for someone like Cam Thomas. I think there's some interesting appeal there.
Dinwiddie too, probably in that vein. Dinwiddie as well. Coming off 50 because there's no Dennis Smith, and we've seen like every time Dennis Smith hasn't played, Dinwiddie's just played monster minutes. So I think both those guys, Dinwiddie's been on a little bit of a good run here 7+ assists in 5 straight games and 35+ fantasy points in 5 straight too.
It's funny because you kind of have to like click around the Brooklyn guys to see like who's having the week.
I know.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges had a run for a while. Obviously Dinwiddie there, Cam Thomas. So it's always kind of ride the hot hand. But this feels like a great spot for all of Brooklyn, really, as we kind of work our way through it.
Yep.
Any interest in Max Strus? Basically, their number 2 scorer right now.
Not at 69.
Yeah.
Not at 69.
I agree. Malik Monk, $6,800 if there's no De'Aaron Fox, or just in general, you're into Malik Monk right now?
I mean, yeah, both. It was interesting. I was tilting because I played Monk on Saturday, and of course, naturally, De'Aaron Fox out, right? Malik Monk day. No, played 11 first half minutes. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, is this just like... He did end up playing 26 and obviously 38 fantasy points. Pretty good. Pretty good basketball player, Malik Monk is. So that was fine. It's just always going to be the minutes thing. Like, he has a 30-minute ceiling and he has like a 22-minute floor. And if his shot's falling, then you might get the 30-minute Monk. And if not, like, it's 24.
Anybody else down here? I mean, LeVert only played 24 minutes. He's 6K. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit all of his shots, but it's in Denver here. Buddy Hield, THT, Matherin, like anybody else in the 6K range, maybe sticking out to you at all?
I mean, THT is getting pretty good run. I know he didn't start that game, but 26 minutes, 30 fantasy points. Like, if he just gets minutes, he's typically productive. So that's fine. Koulibaly, big letdown on the Sunday slate. Only played like 20 minutes. Someone on this podcast pivoted off of Tyus Jones to get Koulibaly. Tyus Jones has broken the slate.
Yeah, Tyus Jones had the best game of the season. So
second straight, actually. His 50 burgers in back-to-back games now. Go Tyus Jones. Who we didn't mention. So Tyus Jones. There you go. Not really. DiVincenzo shot really well in the first half, then took him off the floor in the second half. I mean, it's a brutal...
It's not great. Again, they got rid of all the value. So, like, Koulibaly was like 5K for a while. Now he's almost 6. Duncan Robinson's price is coming down a little bit. Norman Powell's price is going up. Chris Dunn's price is going up. McGowan's is 51. Like,
even if he starts, that's way too expensive.
Right? Quickly at 48, but he's not getting the minutes. I don't really see much down here, man, unless someone gets ruled out.
Terrence Mann, 27 minutes, 21 fantasy points. Price going down finally, because there's no reason he should ever be 5K in any capacity.
Right, but it's still even like
I know
spot, right? You play it because of the Pacers matchup. We talk about this all the time. You just kind of increase the ceiling for some of these guys here. So if you want some cheap exposure to that game, probably where you would go. Small forward, LeBron's up to 10-3 again. They spiked everybody's prices here. Again, not to take anything away from LBJ. Yeah, no AD against San Antonio. He goes for 58 after going for 64 against Dallas the game before that. So certainly can do that against the Knicks if you want to. Scotty Barnes at $9,400. It feels like we're always getting these sort of matches for him. He went for 68 against Charlotte in that game. That was the game where I think you and I called like one of these guys will have big nights against Charlotte, and then they both did. So if you want to pay the $9,400, you certainly can. But as we mentioned, Kawhi Leonard's here at 86 against the Pacers. Feels like maybe one of the chalkier players on the slate.
Yeah, multi-position eligible. Kawhi has been incredible. 52 fantasy points per game over his last 5. I mean, dude, the shooting splits for Kawhi Leonard over these last 5 games, he's shooting 65, 62, 95. 65% from the floor, 62% from 3, 95% from the free throw line. It's just stupid. So, yeah, Kawhi is probably the best player in this tier overall, and I have absolutely no issue getting to him. Probably my favorite play in this tier, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you have Lauri Markkanen, you have DeMar DeRozan. We've talked Paul George already. Mikal Bridges again. Somebody in Brooklyn's probably going to have themselves a pretty good game here. But I, again, didn't really find a ton that I loved. Like, Bojan's here at 67, but like price certainly going up. But this feels like a matchup where fast pace, high total. You could have, flirt with some level of a ceiling game. Dante Exum still getting a lot of the minutes here. Jalen Williams at 65. You have Barrett against the Lakers. I mean, any of these names, stand out to you? Because again, the pricing is just hurting my perception of their value here.
I don't mind Bojan, but obviously we need that game to stay competitive. He's been shooting the ball really well the last few games, 57, 50, 53% from the floor. So
Yeah.
Bogdanovic is fine. Probably not Exum at 66. I know he's playing the minutes, but not in Denver, 66.
Right.
Barrett 63, no. THT we talked about. Bruce Brown, no thanks. I saw Thompson maybe 6K. I know he only played 24, 22 minutes, but like look at these. If this is more competitive, like the Indy Philly game or the Indy game was a few games ago, like he is going to probably play 30 minutes. They're injured everywhere. I know Isaiah Stewart's already rolled out for this game, so like
they've been playing James Wiseman decent minutes.
They have been playing
Bagley
James
is back. I don't know if that had anything to do with the recent minute drop for Oscar Thompson there, but I mean, would you rather play Oscar Thompson or Tari Eason?
Same price. That is a fair point. Did you see Tari Eason's minutes today?
I did. He played 30. Do you know that he also had the stat line he finished with basically in 18 minutes? And then
I do because my DFS lineup had him.
Didn't do too much in the second half of that game there, but we know what he can be. The problem, of course, is that he is $5,200 the last slate and now all the way up to 6K, but he went for 50 back-to-back games. So I don't mind the Tari Eason thing. I guess we'll have to see how Houston's handled some of these guys on back-to-backs.
Yep.
Eason, obviously was someone that for a while they were monitoring
True.
His minutes there, but unless we get any sort of word, tough to trust. Fontecchio, 25 minutes still for him, but they're getting healthier now.
Well, that was a blowout. That was also I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Utah's just Utah, right? Yeah. They're just playing 25 guys tonight.
He was really good for 3 games,
yep,
but now they got a lot of guys potentially coming back. They could even have Collins back on the slate, so
True.
Something to watch. If Fontecchio starts, I like him at 56. Norm, I just give the usual GPP bump to. Give him a ceiling potential against the Pacers. He's flashed some decent scoring lately. On a slate where there's not a lot of value. Again, Dylan Brooks, if you want to chase the ceiling game, they're not playing
back to back. Another good game on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, ride the waves of Dylan Brooks if you want to. There when you can. Josh Hart, he played 8 minutes. He was ejected in that game. Played 29 minutes the game before that. Hasn't really given you anything in 3 games here. But maybe a little revenge for the former Lakers going into LA here. Hart, Randall, that whole crew when we walk our way in.
Yeah.
It's not a great narrative. I'm just throwing the narrative out there. Lou Dort gets minutes. Okoro's getting minutes. I mean, these are not great prices, man.
Your value play is Vince Williams, 4,600. I don't care if you want it to accept it or not, but
I mean, he's in the playbook. So
he is your value play.
They have nobody else. If they don't have no Rose.
I was just kind of looking through because I was like,
they don't even have Jalen Noel anymore.
So do you think? So I guess, they don't have Jalen Noel. So do you think that? So there are 2 options, maybe 3 options. 1, they just say, Bane, Desmond, you're starting at point guard tonight. 2, Jacob Gilyard, dusted off, $3,800, starts at point guard. 3, they start Contra at point guard because they've done that like randomly where they start Contra at point guard. Not that because I think they start him at point guard and they're just like, all right, Desmond, you're just going to handle the ball anyway. And none of those are great scenarios, but like Gilyard 38 would obviously open up some things.
Yeah. It just has such a low, we've seen him start such a low floor for that.
Incredibly low floor. Awfully low floor. I'm just saying on a slate where we're scarce of value. I do think Vince Williams at 46.
I'm excited to see the first ownership run. I want to see where the people are going. If it's like 60%, 70% Gilyard on an 11-game slate,
it's brutal.
I think I'm fading that. Like,
I am too. No, I'm with you. Especially if and that's like obviously the first run and like this podcast are literally just to get ideas because nothing we say now, everything could be different I
literally put that in the Discord on Friday. I did an entire playbook. We did two shows, one live, one recorded. And within the last 10 minutes before roster lock, none of it mattered.
Well, because Davis, that was the Anthony Davis rule
Davis
out.
got ruled out. Like, there's a whole bunch of things, and all of a sudden I'm playing. I built the lineup that you guys are supposed to face me in on the listener league.
True.
Maybe that's my own fault or against the rules, but there are no rules. Because once the injury news came out, I pivoted, ended up building the winning lineup for that league with Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, and like Torian Prince, and all that other stuff. So none of it mattered 10 minutes before the slate started. So this is our first look. These are our first reactions. My first reaction is pricing sucks. So I'm curious to see where people get to here. Let's see. So Jake
Laravia, he came back. He was one of their 6 first-round picks last year.
Yeah. Just curious. I mean, if they have a lot of guys out, does he get any sort of increase in minutes? I know Roddy's been playing a lot of minutes lately as well.
Roddy or Vince Williams, if you could only play one, both small forward eligible.
Roddy's at least
started
taking more shots. Yeah. I might go Roddy.
I think it's obviously a low floor for both.
Yeah, I mean, again, this also feels like, what do you need for your money, right? If you need $300, you just play Williams. But Roddy's doubled his shot, almost. 2 of the last 3 games, Roddy's doubled up his shot attempts. So Williams been more aggressive on the glass, giving a little bit more defense. Hitting more threes. But Roddy's. If Williams isn't efficient with his shooting, then you're dead. Roddy at least has some volume there. So,
sure.
All right, power forward. A lot of these guys we have discussed. I love Anthony Davis if this matchup goes. There's no Mitchell Robinson, so AD should have a field day with whomever the Knicks decide to put out at center. Sims or Hartenstein, love that spot for him. And I don't think he sits after sitting the other day. I think he's going to play here. So, totally good with that. What are your thoughts on Towns at 9K coming off of a 72 fantasy point game against the Pacers here?
That Pacers matchup is.
I know, man. It's crazy.
I mean, I think Ant had 37 actual or something like that in that game too. They've had 7. They almost had 80 points combined between Towns and Anthony Edwards, just to show you what the Clippers are up against. Yeah. I mean, if you want to play Towns, dude, we said it. I said it to you on Friday's show. I looked up the numbers. Him and Anthony Edwards are the same per minute fantasy producer, but Anthony Edwards has clearly taken over the lead role on that team, but that doesn't lead in terms of fantasy production. Towns is averaging 9.5 rebounds, and he's getting steals, and he's getting blocks, and he's a good passer out of the post. So, no problem getting to Towns. He's an elite fantasy player.
Yeah, I agree with you. We talked obviously Kawhi here, Randall, Siakam, Jaren Jackson Jr. at 8,300. Anybody else here?
You could probably get to any of those guys in tournaments. Randall obviously has a ceiling, even in tough matchups. I mean, he scored 40-something against Giannis in the Bucks front court. Siakam has a great matchup against Charlotte. Was really good against them in the first game, but just didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
He was super efficient, 11 for 15, 25 actual, didn't have a lot of peripheral stats. So you can go there if you want. And Jaren Jackson Jr., has shown as high a ceiling as anyone else on the slate the last 2 of the last 3 games. And even that game against Houston, the last game, he's in foul trouble. Yep. He shoots terribly. He doesn't play the 40 minutes that he's played the 2 games prior, and still scrapes 36 fantasy points up because he can change games defensively or change his outlook defensively. So,
if there was a matchup where Keegan Murray could match his 12 3-pointers, it would be against the Wizards, right?
That was a bold statement. that was. You should put some money down if that happens again.
Where Keegan Murray gets hit 12 threes, it feels like it would be Washington.
I mean, dude, I messaged you, dude, I'm watching this King, and it was obviously during the UFC card, so you were messaging me UFC. I'm watching. I have my laptop on the ground watching UFC, but Keegan Murray is having an out-of-body experience right now. You're oh, I think he said 10 threes, huh? And then he hit 2 right after that, and he probably breaks the record if he was able to play that fourth quarter. And didn't have to sit the first 6 minutes of it. 7K is That's healthy. The only way I'd consider it is if De'Aaron Fox was out.
Yeah.
If De'Aaron Fox is in, I'm pretending like Keegan Murray doesn't exist on this
Yeah.
slate. I get it. I get it. And respect to him. That's
I mean, listen, he's a 3-point shooter, right?
he is one of X people to make 12 threes in a game, right? I'm not
Yeah.
not going to disrespect that. I'm just saying, like,
Right.
7K is.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Porter, Denny, Caleb Martin, Sadiq Bey. Got a lot of guys we talked about. Jabari's at 65. Gunkwu already starting. Could
Power
start more.
forward eligible.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh,
he
thank
started
you.
power forward, and then now Capella's hurt. So
Yep.
he's got the dual positional. He's $6,300 here against Detroit, which feels like a pretty nice spot for him. Cam J, Nas Reed up to $6,100 now. Any of the 6K range for you?
Dude, Nas is just in. He's just in, huh? 27 minutes again in Indiana. Like, they're just like, damn, we got to get all three of these guys as much run. What was the Gobert minutes? 25? He wasn't even in foul trouble. They just ice
The way he's
Gobert.
playing right now, like how do you take him off the floor? Right?
No, and Towns had 40, so like he wasn't coming off the floor either. Damn, Nas Reed and Tari Eason both 6K on the same slate is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, any of those guys are like all tournament plays. I wouldn't say none of them are priorities. All of them in tournaments.
Sure. Neesmith is 51. Talked about Roddy already. Again, there's just no value down here. I mean, Sims, Niang, anybody for you? Highsmith is back. I mean, just throw
Hendricks played another 20 minutes. If Collins
Collins
doesn't,
out.
yeah, I mean, again, lottery pick for them. He can space the floor. He hit a couple threes in back-to-back games. But that would obviously be very contingent on Collins being out.
Yeah. There's not a lot else out here, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else, John.
Not playing team reporter Dean Wade. Yeah.
Team reporter Dean Wade. He is absolutely, and he keeps starting. It's just,
they just play him. Center position: Joker, Embiid, AD, Sabonis, Bam, Towns, Şengün. Like they're all obviously great. I do like Sabonis a lot though in this spot. I'm not the biggest Sabonis guy, but it's the Wizards, man. Right? They're at home. It's the Wizards. You were dead on him against OKC, I think it was the other day.
Yeah, but dude, oh man, that game was a tilter because he didn't score a fantasy point in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. He scored he had a rebound in the fourth quarter, and he still had 49. It's so annoying.
Yeah. $9,800 good price tag for him here, especially there's no De'Aaron Fox. And of course, JoJo and Jokic are tiers above everybody. Can play either one. If you had a preference of Joker or Embiid, they're only $200 off each other.
Dude, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep going to Joel Embiid every slate. If it's, dude, this is happening in three quarters every game. I don't know what else to say. Like, dude.
It's impressive.
Dude, these numbers are 3 quarters. I messaged you this, or I said this to you, I think, before we were recording, and I'm going to find it real quick. I liked it. So this was December 14th by Basketball Reference. So this was pre-Detroit-Charlotte games. Joel Embiid is averaging 35, 12, and 7 in games he doesn't play the fourth quarter. 35, 12, and 7. And then went 35, 13, 2, 42, 15, and 3, and didn't play the fourth quarter in either. It's just like there's just no one playing better than Joel Embiid right now. There's just no one playing better. So he is just, I'm telling you, like, he is just my top spend up moving forward. Until proven otherwise, dude, no Harden has unlocked him better than when he was the literal MVP of the league last year. He is the literal won the most valuable player award, and he's leaps and bounds better.
Agreed.
And he's still the third highest priced player on the slate.
We had Chet with the 8 block game. He's now one of 3 this year. Chet, Wemby, and Brook Lopez. They have 8 blocks in the game. Can be a monster at $7,600 there, going up against Triple J, obviously. Jared Allen, as you mentioned, had a really big game the other day, 25 and 14, 35 minutes. Love seeing the minutes. Can he be that efficient and that active in this spot against Houston, do you think?
Maybe. It's not like Atlanta doesn't throw like some pretty good big men at you in Capella and Ngannou. So he had no. I mean, there's just two obviously massive pieces missing in Cleveland. So someone else like the Strus point. Like looking back at the Strus point that you made, like I probably should have not poo-pooed it, but like 6,900 was a brutal price. Donovan Mitchell can't score 50 every game.
He's gonna try.
There's gonna be. He's
unless they put Karis LeVert in the starting lineup, like Strus is going to be out there taken as a primary 2, right? For the shooting. So
fair. It's a fair point.
Claxton's coming off of a 40 fantasy point game. You have Miles Turner again, super inconsistent. Played 21 minutes and 20 minutes in the last 2 games. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Isaiah Jackson just playing over him.
Dude, he has been the Isaiah Jackson game the other day with the it was like a 20-point double in
20 minutes.
Like
10 of 13 in 20 minutes.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, holy smokes. Isaiah Jackson is a fantasy point.
So like I said, you have Claxton coming off a 40 fantasy point game there. We'll see if Capella's in or out, but it would be a good spot for him. But if not, Ngankwu's here. Zubac, 62. Nick Richards, 61. Pirtle, 61. Let's see, where are we going? Wiseman's 59 now. 28 and 26 minutes the last 2 games for him. I mean, he gave you a 40 fantasy point game against Philly in the 28 minutes blowout, obviously, and then played blowout run against Milwaukee. But they need him. They need big bodies right now in that front court rather.
Dude, and what's the downside to playing James Wiseman? What is the downside for this team? Yeah. They've lost 30 games. I think I saw they're 4-46 over their last 50 games overall. Like, what is the actual downside? There's no Isaiah Stewart. There's no Jalen Duren. I mean, 5,900 is super, super uncomfortable as it gets for James Wiseman. But if he's going to approach 30 minutes, sure.
Love, but obviously both Highsmith and Bam are back, so he probably doesn't get all those minutes. But he was really good against your Bulls.
He was. Yeah, he was.
8 apart. Again, Jackson's there, but he's up to 5K now. Bagley's 49 in a limited role. Achua, 46, still playing around 20 minutes. We know what he can give you. Anybody else?
If Clint Capella sits, would Bruno Fernando pique your interest at all? Now they bumped him quite a bit. And he only played 16 minutes, but it wasn't a game that Capella did play in.
Yeah, why not?
Dude, he had a big fantasy game. I mean, again, 4,500 kind of stinks. Like, it's not a.
He made his way back to Atlanta after being on Boston for like a day, huh? Last year, I think it was.
Yep.
That's fine. They need a backup big, so I have no problem going there.
I mean, they play. I mean, dude, they're hurt. Like, Atlanta's just banged up. Like, Jalen Johnson out, AJ Griffin out. Bogdan is questionable. DeAndre Hunter is questionable. Like, they've been so banged up that they started Ngannou and Capella together. So I'm not saying they're going to start Ngannou and Bruno Fernando, but what if they did? If Bogdan and I guess that's something too. I know you gave Garrison Matthews a shout last week. If we see Bogdan and Hunter sit, Garrison Matthews might find his way into that starting lineup there, John.
Yeah, I'm with you. That would be wild to see. I would probably play him. What's his price, Garrison Matthews?
39.
I mean, I'd play him over Gilliard.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
All right, let's build a lineup, I guess, then. There's no value, so can we afford to spend up for Joel Embiid here?
No.
It's going to be tough.
Play Kawhi or Paul
I want to play them both, I think. I'm going to play them both. Kawhi, Paul George, 55-50 for a guard. Yeah, I don't even think there's anybody down this range. Like, there's so little.
We could play one of the Memphis guys. Probably gets.
Do you have to play both him and Roddy? You might have to play them both.
No, don't do that. No.
You kind of might have to, though.
Good for DraftKings for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, for real, right? Like, you just hope that
Lou Dort's going to probably get ownership, 52. Derek Jones, 53. Shot the ball really well. Played 33 minutes again the other day against Portland. Derek Jones is pretty good, 53.
Yeah,
He played.
Jones, that's fine. Jones.
You can move PG. Yeah.
Oh, Derek Jones
needed a
is
guard.
all right, we'll do this. Small forward, Derek Jones, George, shooting guard, Kawhi, power forward.
Yeah.
Okay, 5,900 for a guard and a forward.
Chris Dunn, if he starts, 53. Colin Sexton, 7K if we can get there.
Sexton, that's fine. And that's 4,800 for a util. We definitely had someone down here at that range.
Find someone on Memphis. Plug him in.
Keon Ellis. There you go.
That's obviously
all of this. Yeah, all of this is dependent on the 5 o'clock news. So, given the current questionable injury situation that we have here, we're riding out Ivy, George, Jones, Leonard, Agonku, Sexton, Williams, and Ellis. This is not looking great. Hopefully, some value opens up, or you're going to have to get scrubby or very fair and balanced for the 11 games. Again, I'm on the playbook. We'll be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern. Get us in Discord. Find us on Twitter, and James and I will catch you live back here, 5 o'clock, everybody. We'll talk to you later.